Okay, so Anguilla it is. I hope I'm saying it right. Um, Anguilla. I'm
Anguilla, Anguilla. Yeah.
right. So first thing I did was to check on the map where it is. It's in a very cute nook on its own in what's called the Eastern Caribbean. So I think this is on the east side of Cuba and Puerto Rico, and like Jamaica is on the west side of that. It's within the same area, and it's in a chain of beautiful islands, one after the other. And I'm pretty sure there must be some cruise that tries to go from one to the other. Um, and like I said, it's a small island. There's very few people, and I try to look for all sorts of activities. And thankfully, the activities that were listed were things like snorkeling, sailing. They said the whole place is almost like a beach. So going to the beach is the least adventurous thing you would do, but there's lots of other stuff also. And obviously, this was part of the British colonies. So there are old buildings, and there's one place called, because it's something oh God, I've forgotten the name already. But there is a lot of history, and I have saved some articles which I'll share with you later so that you can pull up stuff and write about this. In the meantime, I found from some bits from articles, some bits from blogs, pictures for our purpose. And since it is in the Caribbean, normally we will make a lot of pictures of buildings and urban settings. But in this place, I thought maybe we could just do more of nature. So this is their national animal. It's supposed to be a land lizard, which is a kind of iguana, but it's different from iguanas in some way. I briefly read a small blog about this, and all I could distill from that is it's not an iguana, it's not a lizard. When you see it, you will know it. That's it. That these are local only to Anguilla, and they call the Anguilla lizard for a reason. And I can't give you any more information. So I left it at that. Okay, so this is, we'll find out the name of the flower. This is called the white cedar, I think, yeah. And I love how somebody on the same building has made all these very casual artwork of the national symbols. There's one more about the peas and what is that? Rice with pea,
Pigeon peas and
pigeon peas, yeah, something like that. So let's see, we might make some more pictures, come across some more pictures and we'll use those. I also thought we could, in a place where it's mostly just nature, you could you could use simple things like just a signboard like this or like this as part of the artwork to speak about it. This is the Heritage Walk, the logo for the Heritage Walk, which runs across through the city, through the island. And it goes to all the old buildings from the 1700s. So old properties from that time, and maybe these were slave owners or whatever. So this is the logo they put on all those properties. And this is also a sign for the trail. Then these two buildings I found are some very interesting churches. The architecture is so unique, so different that these can make for an interesting illustration. And then,
I
of
wonder
course,
if there's some significance to the red doors because all of them seem to have red doors.
yeah, there must be some
You know,
significance to this.
they
Yeah,
all have red doors.
we can find out. Yeah. Then I guess the favorite food over there is crayfish. Apparently, you get a lot of large crayfish there, which is again different from lobsters, and and crayfish has no season. So apparently, when you go there, if you get it, you get it. All restaurants will say they serve it, but you don't never know if it's going to be there the day you go. And I found this very cute, very busy looking bar. There's no decor as such, except for everything that's painted on it. So this is a classic example of making the most out of the less that you have. This fellow probably had just 4 cans of paint, yellow, red, green, and white, and decided I'm just gonna put lots of stuff on it. So busy it up so much that it looks different. Looks very
I like
big.
how he's got all the scar plates up.
Yeah. So these must be things that either they have people have put, or sadly, they could be stuff that is just washed on the sea. I hope it's not that, because sometimes car plates do wash up shore. That's what I've heard. But they're too clean to be that. So hopefully they're not flotsam and jetsam. All right. And then, of course, we have the map. This is, it's already an illustrated map, but I would encourage you to look for the Google map of the place so that you have accurate proportions and you also know where everything is, north, south, east, west, and other islands in the vicinity. So we'll get to that at another point. So today, let's start off with making this church building and make maybe this signboard and this fish. That can be the task today. So when you're making the building today, I would like you to try not using the pencil and go in directly with either a pen or directly with paint or with color pencils. And you can try to make it a little quirky. There's no point in just making buildings look very very pristine, very accurate. It's fine to do that once in a while, but once in a while, it's also good to enjoy the freedom of lines going a little wonky. And this church somehow feels like it will allow us that. So if you want, I'll show you, I'll just quickly demonstrate what I mean by a free line, and then you can take it the way you want to. The shapes on the church are very simple. So you can start off with literally just making 4 lines. And then you see how there's this thickness of the pillar in the middle. And then you go around this. So I'm deliberately making my hand go a little wonky. And freeing up the lines. So often this style is not appealing to a lot of people because they feel that this looks very much like a child's illustration. What is the point of being an adult if you are going to illustrate like a child? But now after you've done this, you can make it more interesting by creating the texture around it. And that can be very intricate, very detailed, and impressive. So that part can be done with paint. And only because the main door is red, you want to maintain that contrast between the gray colored, the neutral colored stones and the red door. You can keep the colors of the building in any shade of neutral that you want to. Now, for that matter, here's an opportunity for you to also make the door more interesting by cutting up a paper, a red colored paper. Don't even paint the door, and paste it over here. And you can put maybe a tiny little pin or something across and make the door very tactile. So you can open it or have fun with that. So when you're doing travel journal, illustration is 1 out of 10 things that you can do. There are lots of things that you can add to your journal, and you should. So you should constantly be looking out for things that you can add to your journal to make it interesting. Okay, now the bottom part is just dots. So you can take some neutral color. And by neutral, here's what I make as neutral color. You have a warm color and cool color. Just mix them together, you will get some neutral color. If I have a cool color and I put another warm color, say like a crimson, I will get another neutral color. So neutral colors are like a muddy, grayish, brownish shade that you can get the moment you add one warm color to another cool color. And here you can make shapes in these colors. Avoid making squares like I have made here by mistake, and keep them as close to each other as you can. But keep moving the color around. So you can make any number of these bricks that you want. And once you make one color, make bricks in that color all over the place. So if you land up making 10 different shades, which is often the case, you don't have to worry about making the same shade again, so that you maintain a certain uniformity in the distribution of that color all over. So the best way to do is you make one color, you just go and apply it in different spots all over the place. Now this gray has become slightly bluish. And then we can take these same colors and make again, make dots all over the bottom and also this separator. So one big advantage of drawing something like this is when traveling, you can make a quick sketch and still make it look very interesting. When you don't have too much time. So you're not feeling that I wish I could wait here longer, or I wish I had taken a picture. It just works even as an illustration like that. And imagine if you maintain the same style through a book, or one travel book for 1 year or maybe 6 months of your travel. If you're traveling frequently, it will start looking very unique and it will have its own flavor. So from place to place, you don't have to change the look. This is done. This you can take your time in painting. Then give the door a nice bright red color. So this is where I would focus on the bright red color of the door. And if I don't get enough time to even make the entire texture, it still will be fine. Now, when you're painting this, I just want to check with everybody. Are you loading the brush very well? Don't use very little paint when you are painting something this bright. So you can see my scarlet has become like a well. So I have to really, really scrape on the sides and then pull out some concentrated color. But in painting this, I deposit a lot of pigment. Now, the top part you can see has more water because, well, it's a well. And the bottom, by now, the color is hydrated. Now, at this stage, I feel often that many of you go into the area that is not well colored and try to paint it while it is wet. Please do not do that anymore. Wait till it dries completely. For all you know, this little color variation might look very nice. Now the windows on the sides have a very interesting aqua color, which we can make mixing cerulean blue with emerald green. And then there's just one big black patch here. While this is drying, I'm using a fat brush and making a nice blue sky. Even for this, make ample paint in your palette. And you could just bring all of this. No, I don't like to finish it like that. So I will press my brush down and just bring it to a certain shape.
That's only cerulean blue, Aditi.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
But that's just because I enjoy cerulean blue a little.
Yeah, yeah. We've started loving it too. They
You
say,
can.
normally we say takya kalam, no? So this is like your standout
Yeah,
color.
I think so.
Yeah, but it adds so much life to it. I anyway love blues, so.
Yeah, same here. I was not a fan of cerulean blue, and I can tell you at least a year when that changed. This was in 2017. I had a student. She was a teacher of law, and she just went to town with cerulean blue after the second or the third class that I had with them. And she said, I can't get over it. Whatever I'm doing, I try to put in a cerulean blue there. And I thought, what's the big deal? Because to me, it seemed a very aggressive color at that time. But over time, it has just overtaken my palette. Because earlier, that place of pride for blues used to be with cobalt blue.
Yeah, but this is such a bright blue that it just adds a lot of life to your painting.
Yeah. Okay, now the same blue, or you can also use a gray, we can use to make shadows. So these shadows you can make either before or after. But when you're making these shadows, just remember, if you have made the texture before, there is a little bit of dragging involved. So some color might run. But if you do a quick stroke, nothing is going to happen to the already dry colors. They'll probably just get wet, not enough wet to get dislodged, just merge very beautifully with the uh, shadow. So these little details still require a technical understanding of buildings and shadows and light. And even if your illustration looks simplistic, these make the illustration look impressive. For the windows, however, I'm using a gray or a black color to put in shadows because a blue on blue is just not going to show. And even here. So these shadows are one of the features that you will notice that give us depth in a picture and change the nature of your image from looking very juvenile and very childish to a mature choice of simple lines. So the difference in a child's illustration of the same thing and a grown-up's illustration of the same thing made with the same lines is the fact that these subtleties of highlights, shadows, a certain deliberate shunning of perspective, all of that is different from how kids see it, and this will still make your picture look very good. Now, while you all are completing this, I'm quickly going to look for the name of this building. So this is called Saint Gerard's Catholic Church. And
Aditi, had you used a flat brush for the sky?
no, round brush. I
Round
don't
brush.
use flat brushes at all.
Huh.
Not yet.
And Aditi, you put the dark this thing on the right side for the door, the dark line.
I have, because that's how I see it in the photograph. You see it? The shadow is on the right for some weird
Yeah.
reason. But that's a minor thing. You can put it on the left also. I think it's just protruding. If there's a bigger shadow just on the top of the door, that's more significant. The other can come on both sides.
I added a slight green
Huh?
and I really liked it.
1 minute, let me see. Oh, 1 second. Let me spin it. I can't see it clearly. Very nice. Cool. Okay, so as it turns out, there's a nice Wikipedia article on this. This was the house that I was talking about was Wallbleak House. So this was completed in 1966. Gerard, Saint Gerard Church, Valley. Oh, 1971. Now, when you're writing the text, even the text can be written very casually. I know some of you are a little, well, I don't know, some of you are. There's a student who comes on Fridays who is so worried that all her text goes up, that and no matter how she writes, it always seems to go up. So use a tape if you want to, and keep that line straight for yourself. So crooked building and straight lettering is fine. But you could also write it's a little crooked. It doesn't matter so much. After all, this is an illustration. So I want to show you one lettering style that you can do directly with the brush. But of course, mark how big your letters are going to be and how wide the lettering should go. So St. Gerard will be Gerard Church. So you know that it should be just a few millimeters across. The letters should be just a few millimeters from each other. So this lettering style is just making very brief marks and works very well with the brush. So let me show this to you.
Which number brush do you use, Aditi?
I think this is a number 6, but first just watch.
Okay.
All the shapes are very narrow and simplified. The brush will often do its own thing And very often when we are writing letters, we are trying to control that action. But in this style, just let it do whatever it does. And keep your lines very simple. Like now the U, don't go and make a very complicated U. And even with the baseline, allow for the baseline to shift just a little bit. Some letters will come up, some letters will come slightly down. Even this looks nice. And then to this, you could, using a thinner pen, you could write Catholic Church, maybe in black or in blue also if you want to. And that too can be written in a very simplistic style. By now my door has dried. So I can just take another maybe cobalt blue, pure cobalt blue, and make the shape of the door, the features on the door. So we have a line in the center. Oh, let me show it to you. It's going to be really detailed. And then I have two pie shapes, I guess. So this technically can be done. And imagine if this was your travel journal. I think 15 minutes, maybe you could do this picture. Now, something like this, we've got a blue sky here, we could use this opportunity to draw the map of Anguilla on the top left and merge the sea of around the map with the sky on the church. And in the same sea, we could also make the fish. So if you can imagine, we draw a fish here, we draw the map of Anguilla here, and there's just one water that runs through from one side to the other side. That can also look very interesting. So again, for the fish, we want to make it in the similar style. You can, no, I'm not going to say you can use a pencil. Forget it. I'm sure you'll be able to make the fish without using a pencil. It is longer, I think, in height than the width, but we don't know. So start from the tail end. And it's fairly regular. You have a compound curve that goes to the top, like so. And outward. And then a similar compound curve to the bottom. And then this line comes towards the front. And at the bottom, we have two extra fins, which are not visible on the top. And you can draw all these lines. For the mouth, you can make a D-shaped, horizontal D shape facing one way and the other. And don't forget these very distinct markings on the fish. Oh, I forgot that it's got a fin here also. Now for this coloring, it would help if we could just paint the whole thing black and then use maybe an opaque colored gel pen or something and make these vertical lines. So these are the tools that you need to pick up. The ones on which you can use from the to make a darker opaque color of a lighter color on watercolor. And with the same thing, maybe we can make a small map. So it's just make these wobbly lines going towards the northeast in a particular shape. I'm also fitting it into the negative space of my already existing cloud. That's complete cheating. And this is not going to even look like a anguilla, but it'll give us some idea. And honestly, even people who live there might not be able to, unless they are cartographers or something, know that we have goofed up big time. So again, don't worry. Do make this compass though. I absolutely love these compasses or many of these graphics that you see around maps. And we can paint over this if you want, and then give it a black mark, a black color. Just paint around the circle, that's fine. Now this painting requires some blending. So I'm going to put a little bit of gamboge and lemon in the center part of the body of the fish. Just paint all over. So this is gamboge, and to the top, I'm going to extend a little bit of lemon yellow. Same lemon yellow I shall use over here at the tip in a bit. The eye can also be lemon yellow here, and add a lemon yellow to all these sides. Now, while this is drying, when it is wet, also you can do the next part, which is making a mix of black and burnt umber, just to give it some depth. I think a little bit of cobalt blue on the side will also be fine. And merge this. You don't need to merge it, but if you are good with it and you enjoy it, then this is a nice place to create a merge. And then add a more concentrated color towards the bottom and pull the color out. Oh, but wait, before you do this, you could paint the sky around, sea around it.
Aditi, just repeat the colors, please.
It's black. It's a usual gray that we use, but a lot darker. But wait,
Okay.
before you paint this, wait, all of you don't
Huh.
paint this because the darker color should come after the blue. So I'm painting my water on the other side first. And this is what I mean. You can paint around that circle. And here, because that dark color is going to cover all of these sections, you can also go inside the line, it's fine. Lift up a little bit, but not big time. This is what I wanted to avoid. There's something about keeping fish in water. I hate to draw a fish without the context of water around it. And in this case, I can paint right over. And on the other side, we can reduce the blue. It does not have to be so intense. That way, if we want to draw something else, we can still do it without the blue looking too in your face. Now, in the event that something like that happens, that my blue has not touched all the corners, don't use the same thick brush to bring in the corners. Already the corners are looking a little haggard, so I'm using a thin brush now to pull in the color instead of the fat brush. Reason being, the color over here is still so liquid that if I bring in a loaded brush, it will add more color in an area that I don't want more. And if it is dry, then the brush will just suck away all of this, leaving a patch. So I use a fresh brush, thinner brush for control movement. That way I get to maintain the shape that I want just by dragging the paint from the neighborhood into these nooks and crannies. Same thing over here. So this fish is called the French angelfish, apparently. Here we could have written the Valley Anguilla instead of writing Catholic Church. Repetition of words. Terrible. This part is dried. Now I will paint the top fin. So in this case, I will pull my lemon yellow inward and a little more than is visible on the photograph, simply because some of this dark color is bound to run in. And the merge at the bottom is not really crucial because it's anyway, we have to create a texture there. Now, as you come to the middle portion of this fin, you can start adding more concentrated black color so that you can get a little highlight going. Do remember to load the brush before you run out of paint. In the middle section, you can just make a whole series of lines. First, you can make them sideways. And then you can make them upright. So we are effectively making the texture look like the opposite of what it is. But in the bargain, it will look like these are alternating black and yellow stripes. And that's close enough for now. So as far as possible, keep these lines apart the same distance. And if there's a little curve visible, do make that curve. And keep them distributed unevenly. So don't make too many lines in a line right next to each other without breaking that a little bit with some line in between, a little higher or lower, like so. So this is one thing that we had also encountered when we painted apples. I don't know how many of you remember. There were white spots on the apple that we were trying to sketch. This is probably even last year. And could have been in another class. But we made, in the pencil sketch that we made those spots dark. And it really didn't matter to the picture. The dark spots looked like they were definitely dark spots, but they still made sense. The rest of it is fairly simple. Again, I'm making very simple patterns here. And the eye can be just made like a ring, almost like an anime eye. So there are some dark lines that run across the fin on top, almost like a radiating texture. So I'm making these lines so that I can get that texture, but also it adds that casual flavor to the illustration. And his lips are blue, but with a black line running across the middle. I think this should do it. Let me tell you the name again. This is the French angelfish. Now we have this spot over here where we can write Anguilla instead of drawing anything else because the map ends right here. As far as the island is concerned, you can paint this in a beautiful yellow ochre mix of colors. If you are afraid of the colors merging into the blue and then becoming green, leave a little gap. That often can simulate a beach, just a yellow or a white line running along the edge. But if you use a thin brush, then you can go very close and make that line touch without too much damage.
Is it gamboge, Aditi?
Gamboge and yellow ochre.
Okay.
So when you write or when you draw a particular monument or draw a fish or something, you don't really need to write about this. This is the mascot for the information that you want to give. And I always encourage all students to write something about their experience when you're traveling. It could start as simple as what is the weather like? Who are the people with you? What did you just eat somewhere, or where you maybe you're headed somewhere to meet somebody? Anything. You don't really need to write very profound stuff. It can just be that day's experience. And then as you get used to jotting down your thoughts, you will start thinking, or the words just start coming to you, even when you are immersed in the experience itself. So it's almost as if there is a place for you to put your thoughts down, you will get better and better thoughts. If you don't have a place to write, or you don't have an opportunity to memorialize that thought, a thought can come and go, but you will not have given it words. And it's such a waste, actually, if you think about it. I think we've been taught to believe that you don't need to share every thought that comes in your mind. So we tend to not put it into words, and we often devalue our experience or our words. I have been guilty of that as well. Who's going to read this, and who is going to want to see my journal? Because we always look at our actions uh, directed towards someone else or someone else's pleasure, and unless we get um, that kind of reaction from somebody, and again, it must be a positive reaction always, whatever we do is not good enough. But I want to shift that a little bit. It's not journaling or making an art journal is not about doing it for someone else. That's what makes it so precious. You are doing it just for yourself. And as soon in life as possible, if you realize that your thoughts ought to be important, at least to you, you will start enjoying so many things in life just by yourself. You don't really need to make it about the people you're with or the experience as compared to other people's experiences. None of that. A simple walk down to your local market can also be full of adventure if you can come back and put your thoughts into a lovely picture with some you can get some ephemera and paste it around and make it so good that that itself becomes a memorable day for you. So when you are hunting information, look for the information that is significant for you. You're not writing this for a travel magazine. You're not writing it as a trip advisor. So it has to be significant for you. Like in this case, I would probably wonder how many species of fish are unique to this island, and what has, of course, my mind will immediately go to what has been the impact of climate change or whatever. So I'll write some morose thoughts over here also. But then that is just me. But this could also lead to somebody else who is into adventure sports could write that these 3, 4 numbers are the places where you can go snorkeling or whatever. And this is research that we do here before going to the place, even if you're not planning on going anytime soon. But those are the things that you can also start writing.
Aditi, do you normally always finish your artwork before you leave the place?
Not always, no, no. Most times I don't finish the artwork, except when I'm making something like this. This kind usually finishes. So I have only one journal so far that I have finished on the trip and had to do barely anything when I came back. That was the journal that I made in Goa in 2019. So I stayed there extra for 3 days during Serendipity. It's just a 40-page journal, but you can see that the illustrations are very simplistic. Just lots of line work, lots of lettering, pasting stickers from wherever we got. So I've filled up the page, but there are very few lines. The area is full and occupied, but not detailed because we hardly got any time. And then from this day, I was on my own. So I went to these exhibits and no, not this day. This was the students were also with me, I think from here, where I had an entire morning to go through Sudarshan Shetty's work. So I made elaborate illustrations. In some places, I also wrote what my thought was right there. This I came back and did. This I did not do on location. So here again, all the writing was done that evening, but I made an illustration of whatever I saw right there. These were, in fact, 2 male dancers who were dressed as women. So I drew pictures of their faces and didn't write anything else. This is the best way to draw food, I find. Lots of lettering. Get up, maybe sometimes you can also get tissue paper from the restaurant, which you can cut up and keep as so you don't have to draw the logo and just draw lines. Anyway, if I was going to paint it, it's just going to be puddles of color, which I don't like. I'd rather just focus on the shapes. And then there was some stuff from the exhibition that I pasted and filled up more and more space. This was quite interesting. I think this I painted. I went to this place, but I could not stand there and paint. But I took a lot of pictures when I came back and I did it. This one definitely I did when I came back to my room, because that day I had met the wife of this artist, Carl de Silva. That's it. So when I came back home, I had to finish off these 2, 3 pages. So I finished this page. Then this was some illustration that we had done, seeing the contemporary art at Subodh Kirkar's gallery. So I made the students do that. And the exhibit was like this. They had just taken some random colors and then cut it up and framed it. Quite interesting. Then, yeah, that was about it. And finally, I had last page, I just thanked all the peoples. But this was good because otherwise I would have forgotten the people that I had met at that trip. Turned out very nice.
Lovely memory.
It is. Okay, so now the last bit. Shall we try making that crayfish? We can just make one of those because it's a very simple color. It will be about this big. So I'm just making
You're making that food picture, na?
Food picture, yeah. Let me show you. I'm making the top piece. So there is some detail on the crayfish. If you can make it, do make that. And if you are not too fond of making this picture because it's going to look a little weird, then you can make a picture of that Campari place or the signboard that says Meads Bay, something simple, similar or simpler. For this picture also, no need to put too much of detail. Just slap all sorts of color, mostly gamboge. The lemon will be green to add some variety. The center of the fish can be a little lighter. And along the periphery, you could just drop in a little bit of orange or scarlet. Don't put in a brown.
Aditi, can you pin what you're drawing?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize.
Thanks.
Aditi, scarlet or which other color you said?
Orange.
Okay.
And leave much of this undetailed. Just a splash of color. And while this is drying, we still have 10 minutes. I will write Anguilla, Anguilla, right? Anguilla. Okay. So on this page, I'm not changing the lettering style. I'm keeping it just the same. I'm using just a fatter brush this time. Now the other side, I'll finish the what's this called? Compass. And here you can write a north on the top. Okay, I'm just trying to check what this thing is called. Is it like a baked crayfish or barbecue crayfish? Just give me 2 seconds. No, can't find anything, so I'm just gonna write crayfish. That should do it. So now we just need to write some text. You can write a few things like make a dot. Somewhere in the middle over here is the capital. Very sweetly, it is called the valley. And I just realized my crayfish looks pretty much like the map of the country itself. This is really weird. Wait, I need to finish that lemon on that. That should change it, hopefully. That'll make all the difference. Now, when you are writing the text, please, you can divide the spaces here to make them look more like columns, like you would see in a magazine. And to do that, you can use a pencil, or I would still say use your paper tape. There is a lot of life in this paper tape. So mark the baseline or the bottom edge and corners. So you know that you don't go beyond a certain point. And always keep some margin. It's just the more polite way to write text. So we have this block to write about St. Gerard Church and maybe a little bit about crayfish as well. If you go too close to the bottom, it just tends to look very juvenile and almost unprofessional. Same thing, match the baseline over here. And then a little bit of border from the left. Even if your illustration is going outside the page, the text ought not to. Now, when you are writing it, use either if you are brave enough, just write with the brush itself. That could be quite interesting. But if not, now that we have chosen this style of writing, continue in the same, maybe slightly smaller. You can write all caps or big and small letters. And in this case now, if you feel, you can keep a little gap from the crayfish. So you can make it what's called a text wrap around the crayfish. That looks good as well. So I would write something like I made a spelling mistake. Now, since we have very little space, you can hyphenate words. So when you fill this up, you realize that the text itself also is part of the illustration, can be an element in how the or why the picture looks good. So think very carefully when you are writing. How you write, where you write, what you write, all of that can be improved over and over again. All right? How are your pages looking? Oh, nice. Wonderful. Wow. Very nice.
I'm amazed how even, we didn't do the church with all that background, but with the white also, how much it pops up, on the in the in the illustration. It looks really good even with white. Just
Yeah.
it's a very interesting learning for me.
I still have to finish the lettering.
Very nice.
I will do that.
Ritu's is looking good. Very good.
Aditi, can you put this picture up on the group?
Yeah, I will.
That this for the lettering
Yes.
reference.
Definitely.
Ritika, a lot of progression in your quality of work. Huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think those two workshops that she did with Aditi have really
Yeah. It really
It really
matlab
helped me.
added a lot to her style.
Yes, because so the first time when I went with her to Goa, that was my first learning when I realized, she really, do sketches very slow. But it looks to me, okay, I have to do this. But it was not like that. She's really slow, one line by one line. So that, all those time with her actually helps me to let go for 1 year again.
Yeah, it makes a difference. The art retreat, 4 days, 5 days, close proximity, and you're immersed in that. It's just brilliant.
Aditi, Jaipur, winter.
Jaipur later this year.
Winter.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, find a location. We'll just
Yeah, I will do all of the spade work and I will share it with you.
Yeah, so I will connect with you and I'll tell you there are just few requirements that I tend to look for to keep
Yeah.
things tight and manageable.
Yeah.
And anytime you feel October, November, anytime we
Yeah.
can announce it. The sooner we announce,
Yeah.
the better. Then everyone can plan.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You guys can tell us which month is better, October or November.
December would be nice. It'd be nice and cold.
December is
Yeah,
also.
but this December, then probably beginning December, no? Because
Ah,
you don't want
yeah.
the Christmas and all
नहीं
that.
नहीं 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 correct.
Yeah.
Let's do it early December.
Diwali के बाद. Finish Diwali and
Early
Diwali.
December. Yeah, Diwali is beginning November this time. 1st November, I think.
So correct. Diwali and after Diwali and before.
Oh, you
Right.
love
So
the weather and the food.
maybe end November is also fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
This
this
time
Perfect.
even I'll try and join, no?
Huh? What's
I
that?
said this time even I'll try and join.
Yeah.
Yeah, join. We'll do some nice heritage location where you can stay.
Yeah.
So you will
That'll
love the place where you live as well.
that'll be wonderful. Super.
Yeah. Already have something in mind.
Okay.
Yay.
Good. Cool. Okay, chalo. I have
Okay,
a
chalo.
workshop to take today, so wish me luck.
Bye,
I'll
everyone.
share
All the
pictures.
best.
That looks
All
like
the
an
best.
interesting workshop.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye,
Bye.
bye. Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Aditi.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
weekend.
Bye. You too.
Bye.